Good morning, Cowboy Jim up here in Fort Mac, Fort McMurray. Some people call it Fort Money, but well, you could. And I I study my YouTube stuff, and boy, have I ever been striking out lately. Unbelievable. And in terms of viewers and so on, and I understand that people don't want to know what's going on, really, what is going on, because then they'll worry about it or wonder what they can do and all that sort of stuff. So I just thought I would do a video on a terrible moose hunt in our backyard at the ranch up the side hill, quite a hill, and it's actually the same exact place that my cousin and I were attacked by a mountain lion, which was really exciting. Oh, trust me, you have no idea um, how how daunting in some way, and yet in other ways how amazing to watch a mountain lion run right at you and growling like a giant dog and all that stuff. But anyway, same place. And after the mountain lion thing, my dear cousin, he said, don't go back in the bush unless you're carrying a backup shotgun. He said, because he had never he had never even hunted once in his life, and oh, it was interesting. So, anyways, I tried to listen to him, and one day evening, because I'd always start work at 7 in the morning, and 2 hours before dark, I would walk back, climb up in my favorite tree stand, and not really care if I saw anything. Didn't matter to me. I hunt, but it's for the solitude, and you break that solitude by killing an animal, especially it was just an archery zone, and then does the work start. I mean, you have no idea unless you have shot an animal, and then you have a clue. Anyways, I climbed up in my tree stand, and I looked around. I checked everything out on 360 in trucking, heavy equipment. Sorry, we talk about 360 awareness quite a lot. That's just when you have an understanding of what's going on around you. And anyways, as I gazed off, I saw a moose standing there. So moose was on the other side of a couple of trees, and there was about an 8 to 10 inch area where you could sneak an arrow through. It's called the bolt when you're using a crossbow, which thank God I am qualified to use a crossbow. Mm, haven't gotten off as many horses as I have unceremoniously. Anyways, um, I took my rangefinder and established that the moose was 42 yards away, and I thought I can usually hit a 2 inch pattern um, quite repeatedly with my 380 Excalibur crossbow. And it's when you pull the trigger on a 380, the thing actually kicks. Not as much as say a 30-30, but it kicks. And so sitting on the tree stand, you have a safety bar wrapped around you, and so on like this. And this isn't a bragging hunting story. Trust me. By the time this is done, you'll probably get it figured out that as much as I've hunted, I'm not very good at it. And I really could care less because, as I said, I don't want to kill things. I like eating moose, but that's that's about it. And so, anyways, I put the crosshairs on the scope. right on that little area, and I'm sure it was, well, it may have been as narrow as a 6 inch area, but I think it was more. And the moose was quite content, just standing there eating, and so I was very careful, and I had four bolts, one in the crossbow, ready to pull the trigger on, and I did, and that arrow um, really flew nicely and hit the tree on the left side of that little 6 or 8 inch, maybe 6 inches, of an open area between two trees. And the moose, that didn't bother the moose. I mean, it just kept eating. And so I took my crossbow and I adjusted the scope. I mean, I only encroached on the tree by about an inch, inch and a half, but it was enough to stop the arrow. Um, so it was off, but it wasn't terribly far off. And so I just moved it over a bit and reloaded that crossbow. Was a challenge. 17 feet in the air, I think. That's what it said, anyways. That's as high as you were supposed to be. But, anyways, doesn't matter. So I reloaded and adjusted the scope, as I said, and I was very careful. And the moose was very attentive, totally ignoring me. We weren't married, and which is kind of humorous if you think about it, but that critter was ignoring me. And so it was busy eating, and I went and pulled the trigger, and that little bolt found its way between the two trees that were kind of obscuring the view on the moose, and hit it. And but there is something about a moose and a mule deer. Uh, they're not that bright. They're certainly not a white-tailed deer that will run at the drop of a hat. But anyways, that bolt went through that moose, and I used a Diablo, I think Diablo, um, lighted or lighted knock on the bow. If you know anything about crossbows, there's really not a knock per se, but when you pulled the trigger, you could track that arrow. And I tracked that arrow visually as that thing was approaching the moose, went right through the moose. The moose didn't even flinch. And, uh, and then it went about another 80 yards beyond. And I thought, say goodbye to that arrow, because I'm not walking 80 yards to find a $10, $12 arrow. So I had shot two of my bolts. And so I took the safety arm up out of the way, stood, and cocked my crossbow. That is a challenge. A 380, it's like a 260-pound draw on a regular bow, which I don't have the physical capabilities. Too many times I've gotten off horses prematurely. And anyways, I loaded that thing up, put the safety arm down, used it as a rest, and I lined up on the moose again, and I knew I'd hit that moose. Like, there was no doubt. I mean, I tracked that arrow, or bolt. We call it a bolt. People don't know the difference. Well, one's shorter, and anyways, one's for a crossbow, one's for a regular bow. Anyways, my third arrow, I pulled the trigger on it, and inexplicably, I hit the tree, not the moose. I hit the tree on the other side of that little 6 inch opening between the two trees. And the moose, it just kept eating. And I thought, I am, and I spoke to the creator, and I said, I am just about the dumbest hunter that I have ever heard of. And and I said, I really thank you that you brought the moose and so on. And I know I hit it, but it wasn't doing anything. It sure wasn't laying down or nothing. And so my fourth arrow, I cocked that crossbow, and lo and behold, the bolt fell out of the crossbow and went straight to the ground, 17 feet. And then I was really feeling badly. Talked to the Creator for a little while and realized last bolt, it's on the ground at the bottom of the tree stand. And I thought, oh, geez. I'm going to climb out of this stupid tree stand. That moose is going to tear off, and I'll be tracking it for a dog's age. And anyways, I got the safety arm up on the stupid tree stand and climbed down to the stupid ground. And it was fair, because I felt badly, terrible. Anyways, I got to the ground. I made sure the stupid crossbow was cocked all the way, and I put the stupid arrow bolt in it, and I slung it over my shoulder and climbed back up the tree. And I thought, dear God in heaven, that stupid moose was still standing there eating. And so I got myself positioned. I got the safety arm back down on the tree stand, and I lined up on that moose again. I think I had adjusted the scope twice, pulling it over to the right a bit and then back to the left, and not as far, but I did. And I pulled the trigger on my last arrow. Two of them were buried in one in each tree, left and right of this little opening where I could get a good clear shot at the moose. Evidently, it wasn't a good clear shot. Well, because I'd hit two trees. Anyways, I pulled. That bolt went right perfectly where it was supposed to go, and the moose took off. And I thought, that's a really bad thing. And I watched the moose as it ran up quite a hill. Where I came from in Ontario, we'd call that a mountain, and it was, but it wasn't like Alberta, BC mountains. It was only a very high foothill. Moose on the dead run ran about 150 yards up through the brush and circled around to the right. And then I started to get a little bit excited because it came back. I mean, it did a big circle, and it came back. And it hit the ground about 20 feet from where it should have been standing, and I probably would have killed it with the first arrow rather than encroaching on those two trees. I killed the moose. Well, you do that. You have certain responsibilities. One, get it gutted, get the hide off it to cool the meat down, let it cool. And there's a reverential thing people don't understand. I mean, a moose just gave its life so that I could feed my ex and all her adult children who seemed to never want to leave. Anyways, doesn't matter. Made a phone call to my native friend who was living in one of our apartments at the ranch. I had 3 apartments, and nice place, eh? And so he and ex's oldest boy, 30-some years of age, still living at home, if you understand. And they came up and helped me with the moose. But here's the deal, okay? Okay. I hunt. Well, I do a lot of things, like ride horses and fall off. I have only missed a few moose in my lifetime. I may do one more moose story, but let's see just if anyone really even cares. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to sit here and tell you that I'm the great white hunter. It's not it. I, I, I just despise when people brag about how great they are. Oh, the best hoe operator in the world, or the greatest truck driver in the world. It's usually just crappy. It usually is. I don't know what I'll call this, the moose that, oh jeez. Hey, I was so humbled because I had shot 4 bolts, and you shoot a bolt, especially into a tree, you're never going to use it again. You shoot a bolt from a crossbow into a moose, you don't want to use it again because the balance will be off and everything will be screwed. And the next time you see something that looks edible and you shoot it, you might hit another tree half a mile away. You probably won't hit what you're aiming at if you're using an arrow bolt that's already been used. Okay, God bless, eh? Um, now, this isn't some fabricated expose of political leadership or lack thereof. I think that's kind of good. Feels to me like it's a Monday, but it's actually a Tuesday. So, anyways, you ever get yourself in a position, a place where you can buy a 380 Excalibur crossbow, you want to do it. That crossbow was stolen from me by 2 guys who I used to live in the same place. Yeah, there were 4 of us, but anyways, stolen. I don't know why people take what's not theirs. I don't know why people lie about it afterwards. I don't understand the impropriety of coveting something else that belongs to some. Mm, shoot, I've seen some Corvettes, and I'm pretty sure I coveted them, but I mean that's as far as it goes. Okay, God bless. Um, I hope you're having a good day. You want to hear a fantastic hunting story? Well, this isn't it. It's just a hunting story. Okay, God bless. Thank you, eh?